Hello and welcome to the Edible Woman Cooking Show. Today we'll be making an age-old classic, chocolate chip cookies. Now we've already preheated the oven to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. We have today a mixing bowl, a spoon, a fork, a whisk, and our beaters over there to help mix things. The ingredients you'll be needing are brown sugar, regular sugar, butter to butter the pan, baking soda, an egg, vanilla extract, salt, chocolate chips, and flour. You will of course also be needing your measuring cups and your measuring spoons. Now we'll be taking things very slowly, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. We're going to start out today a bit differently than what we usually would. Normally with chocolate chip cookies you start with the flour. However today we're going to start with the sugar. The sugar represents Marion. She starts out herself a sweet feminine woman who knows what she wants. Next thing we'll be adding is the flour. The flour represents the man's role in the story, specifically Peter's. Peter is your average controlling man of the 1960s. He does everything just by the book. The next thing we'll be adding is half a cup of lightly packed brown sugar. The brown sugar represents Duncan, a mirror image of Marion in the story, just as the brown sugar is almost identical to regular sugar. The first thing we notice as everything is being mixed is that the flour consumes everything, just as it became clear to Marion that she was being consumed by Peter.
By the looks of it, it seems as if the flour consumes everything. However, the brown sugar mixes more thoroughly with the sugar, allowing for the two to be impossible to differentiate taste-wise. This represents how, although it looks as if Marion was consumed by Peter, it was in fact Duncan that she was being consumed by.
The next thing you'll be adding is half a cup of already softened butter. The butter perfectly represents Clara, a worn-out mother of 3 who drops out of her second year of college to be with her new husband, Joe. At this point, she allowed herself to be softened and molded into the social expectation of a woman. The butter is very easily added into the mixture. The sugar sticks and molds to the butter, just as Marion can see herself molding into what Clara has become, a thought which repulses her. Next we'll be adding 1 teaspoon of vanilla. The vanilla represents the 3 office virgins who sit back and wait for something safe but exciting to happen to their lives. They are easily mixed in, however they're not a large part of the story. The sugar does not stick to the vanilla, just as Marion knows that she will not become one of these office virgins. The next thing you'll be adding is an egg. The egg represents Ainsley and her want for a child. Ainsley believes that every woman should have at least 1 child, however no woman needs a man to do so. At the beginning of the story, Ainsley has a very hard shell. She's a feminist who refuses to believe you need a man's help to raise a child. She is very manipulative, trying to seduce men to impregnate her. However, near the end of the story, she cracks, and her softer side is then mixed into the social expectation of a woman when she does in fact decide to get married. Next, you'll be wanting a half a teaspoon of baking soda. The baking soda is very similar to when Peter proposes to Marion. Just as the baking soda allows for the cookies to rise in the oven, Peter's proposal to Marion allows for the story to rise. Marion becomes unable to eat anything after Peter proposes to her, evoking the main problem in the story, that Marion is not yet ready for the cage of marriage. Next, you'll be wanting half a teaspoon of salt. Salt prevents the baking soda from rising too high, just like the climax of the story. Marion must make a choice at the end of the story of who she wishes to become. After she leaves Peter's party with Duncan, she has the revelation that she is being consumed. She believes she was being consumed by Peter. However, in the last few lines of the story, it becomes clear that she was actually being devoured by herself and by Duncan. Just like the salt counteracts the rise of the baking soda,
This is the downfall and climax of the story of the edible woman.
And lastly, but certainly not least, you're going to want a whole bunch of chocolate chips. Now you're going to want to take your metal sheet, you're going to want to butter it. After you're done buttering it, you're going to want to take a little piece of the dough, roll it up into a ball, and place it onto your pan. Do this for as many cookies as you would like. Now you sit and wait for your cookies to be out of the oven. And there you have it, the edible woman.